Romantic comedy is a genre of movie that generally isn't the most liked or well received. They normally have super cheesy scripts, one-dimensional characters, and actors that are typecasted to an insane degree. Hell, even all the movie posters start to blend together because they all feature a guy and a girl standing against a bland background. So, when a rom-com actually gets everything right for once, it can be an absolute diamond in the rough and blow everyone away. For me, my favorite rom-com is the 2011 film Crazy Stupid Love. It has an insanely stacked cast of Steve Carrell, Ryan Gosling, Julianne Moore, and Emma Stone. It also does away with the cliche two-person or love triangle type of relationship that is found all too often in these movies, and decides to focus on a wide array of different relationships for more relatability and more laugh-out-loud moments. Let's take a look at it. The film follows Cal Weaver, played by Steve Carell, who works on trying to find himself after his wife admits to cheating on him and wants a divorce. He soon meets Jacob, played by Ryan Gosling, who helps Cal get back on his feet and become a player at a local nightclub. While all this is going on, we check back in on Cal's wife, her new boyfriend, their kids, and a girl named Hannah who seems to be struggling with relationships of her own. As the film progresses, we slowly learn that everyone's stories are slowly becoming intertwined as they all face different relationship issues, until everything comes to a climactic head in a backyard where secrets and true feelings everyone has been hiding from each other come to light. Even describing the plot in my own words makes me feel like it's a very convoluted film, which it is to an extent, but if you have seen it before, you know it all plays up to perfection, and that final scene is such an amazing payoff. I think the real beauty behind this film is how we get to learn so much about each one of these characters independent from one another. So when they finally start meeting up and the pieces fall into place, it just seems very natural rather than being forced. So much respect needs to be paid to the writer, Dan Fogelman, who crazily was one of the writers on Disney's Pixar's Cars, for crafting such a wild story that never lost sight of its end goal. It also doesn't hurt to have your four main characters played by Oscar-nominated and winning actors, but I feel if anything, their performances just elevated the script more than making up for any sort of shortcomings. The film is filled with very witty and snappy dialogue, which in my opinion always works better for rom-coms, rather than setting up scenes for one big payoff or punchline, which can bring down the tone of an entire film if done incorrectly. Crazy Stupid Love aims for more quick jabs and banter, and leaves the spectacle for the final 20 minutes of the film, which overall leads to a more enjoyable experience as we get to connect more with the characters, rather than just waiting for the next poorly written joke to be spewed out at us.
Fuck! Seriously? It's like you're photoshopped.
I also feel Crazy Stupid Love is more accessible of a film due to the many relationship situations and stereotypes that are addressed throughout. I'm sure every single one of you that has watched this movie has at least one relationship they can relate to, or maybe even give you horrific flashbacks. To make things easier to visualize while also showing how many different relationships we fall in this movie, I have made a flowchart of sorts with arrows pointing to who each person is in love with, and dotted lines to each person that is connected in some way. In total, we follow 7 romantic relationships and 3 additional connections over the 2-hour runtime. The relationship at the center of it all is Cal and Emily, as every other relationship stems off of them or it is their children. Cal also acts as our main character throughout the film, even if we bounce around quite often to see what other people are up to. In the opening scene, Emily tells Cal she wants a divorce and has cheated on him with a guy she works with. This forces Cal to move out and rejoin the dating scene. So here's the first relationship that is established in the film, the struggling marriage and the midlife crisis divorce. That type of relationship where someone is worried they jumped into a lifelong commitment way too young and thinks there's more to life, just to find out they were happy right where they were all along. The other relationship that is sort of similar to this is Hannah and Richard's. Hannah is slowly starting to realize she doesn't want to spend the rest of her life with Richard, even though he is preparing to propose to her. This relationship can also be viewed as a relationship that falls apart post-college. Someone who is younger just decides what they have been okay with for the past few years is not what they want for the rest of their life, so they move on to the major surprise of the other person. Then we have Emily and David Lindhagen, whose relationship plays with the idea of work relationships. Sometimes people work around others for so long they start to form an emotional connection that goes beyond the workplace. At least that's the viewpoint of David throughout the film. For Emily, we can argue her reasoning for taking on this relationship was staleness and unsureness of her own marriage. But it's safe to say this connection would have never blossomed had they not worked together. Falling in love with someone at your job also tends to be a massive trope in a lot of rom-coms, so I feel this relationship also leans slightly into parody of that as well, especially given how David was given the weird last name of Lindhagen that is made fun of throughout the film, which sort of establishes his presence as a walking joke. On the flip side, we have Cal and Kate, who represent the idea of one-night stands and hookup culture. We also get the added layer of Kate being Robbie's teacher that Emily and Cal have to meet at a parent-teacher conference at a later time to add some more comedic moments to the film. Cal and Kate meet at a nightclub, and Kate clearly has a vision of this possibly turning into a blossoming relationship, but Cal was mostly just using her as a way to finally feel like he was doing something to get back at Emily for cheating on him. I feel like this was an excellent representation of how hookups work in real life. Everyone is looking for something different, and these casual encounters never really amount to much at all. Then we have Robbie, who is madly in love with his babysitter Jessica. I really enjoyed this relationship because I do feel that kids' perspectives are often left out of romance and coming-of-age movies. Robbie is just experiencing that first love sort of feeling when you really don't have developed thoughts on everything that comes with a relationship, but you do know that you just really like someone for some reason. While this relationship is far from the most important in the movie, I personally don't feel like the movie would have been as good without it. Everyone remembers that first time they caught feelings for someone, and this is just such a fun addition to the movie that lets me enjoy this screenplay even more. The other relationship Jessica's involved in is that she's secretly crushing on Cal. This is another relationship I feel is playing on the all too often found stereotype of a younger girl falling in love with an older guy. Crazy Stupid Love handled this relationship very well by putting the comedic twist on it that Cal never finds out about it and is completely oblivious to her flirting, because he clearly and rightfully so isn't interested in someone of her age. Similar to Robbie's crush, I feel his crush is also representing the next stage of your teenage years once you start looking for certain aspects of a person you want to form a relationship with, but are still kind of mostly going in blind as you have limited experience with those types of things. Lastly, we have Jacob and Hannah's relationship that is probably the least complex, but is made all the more funny due to the relationship we as an audience know that Cal and Jacob have. Hannah and Jacob's relationship is probably the most pure in this film. It's that young adult love you feel when you think you have met the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Both are clearly madly in love with one another and are experiencing that honeymoon phase of dating. They're basically the early stages of what Cal and Emily say their relationship used to be like when they were younger, which is referenced throughout the runtime. Of course, we know Jacob was a player and loved picking up girls from the nightclub and helped Cal do the same, but we also see how much different of a person Jacob is when he is with Hannah. I know I just talked about a lot of relationships there, but that's what makes this movie so damn good. No matter what age you are or what relationships you have been in throughout your life, there's probably at least one here you can relate to. When I'm watching a romance movie, that's all I really want, some relatability. Movies connect us and hit us so much harder when we can put ourselves in the character's shoes, even if the movie is also played up a bit for comedy aspects. I cannot think of another movie I've personally seen that balances so many ongoing relationships at once without feeling bloated, confusing, or straight up boring. That takes us to the last thing I wanted to talk about in my review, and is honestly the best part of the movie, that backyard scene towards the end. We have been sitting around watching relationships form for over an hour and a half, just waiting for some sort of resolution or climax to come, and boy, does this film deliver. When everyone enters that backyard and starts piecing together their own emotions, information they've been missing, or finally meeting someone for the first time, it creates such a hectic but amazing spectacle of a rom-com. Emily being blindfolded as we get the first shock reveal that Hannah is Cal and Emily's oldest daughter and questioning why Cal is yelling at her new boyfriend is so funny. Then out of nowhere, Jessica's dad sticks Cal into the ground because he assumes Cal has been getting together with his daughter when he finds a note and pictures in her room. Then just as the situation starts to calm down and get resolved, Lindhagen walks into the backyard and gets absolutely rocked by Jacob. Then this devolves into all the men just dogpiling and beating the crap out of each other until the cops show up for a domestic disturbance. This is by far one of the best endings I've seen in a film, and most definitely for a rom-com. For so many storylines to finally cross and come to an epic conclusion was amazing. This scene is followed up by another at Robbie's middle school graduation, where a heartfelt speech is given by Cal and Robbie, and everyone's relationships remain where the audience wants them to. But that just isn't as fun as that backyard fight scene. I just cannot talk enough about how amazing this film stuck the landing. Crazy Stupid Love is nothing short of a fantastic romantic comedy. We get to see and connect with multiple relationships, we get to have some genuine laugh out loud moments, but most importantly, the film does have a great emotional charge throughout. In a genre that can be super formulaic, cheesy, fake, and boring, Crazy Stupid Love stands out as a movie that broke the mold and is one of the best. No matter what age you are, what genre of movie is your favorite, or what kind of mood you are in, this is one you can sit down and enjoy. Because, in all honesty, this movie is what most of us cherish in life. Crazy, stupid, love. I want to thank you for checking out my review of Crazy Stupid Love. What are your thoughts on the movie? What are some of your favorite rom-coms? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way in helping me out. Thank you, and have a good one, everybody.